Hi there, this is Callum, and in this short video I'm going to demonstrate how to submit a written assignment, so maybe an essay, to Turnitin via Moodle at MMU. Now, to do that, the first thing I want to do is obviously get logged into Moodle. So whether you go through my MMU portal or through moodle.mmu.ac.uk, you want to get into Moodle, so we can tell we're in Moodle because we've got these 4 links at the top here. And if we scroll down the page and just pick the unit that we're going to submit to. So for this case, I'm going to submit to this training area. So once I'm in here, I need to locate the Turnitin submission. Now, the Turnitin submission, it will be placed in a couple of places, but it'll be easy to find. It will either be, a lot of lecturers like to share it in this top area here, just underneath the unit name. You'll see that the example I'm going to use is located here. It might be that it's located in one of the topics or weeks further down the page. If there's any confusion on that, do consult your unit leader or your tutor on where it's located. However, a quick way to find it, if you can't find it on this main content column, is under Activities on the right hand side, just click Turnitin Assignments. And what this does, it brings up a list of all the Turnitin assignments available on that Moodle page. So here we can say we've got a link to a submission, and you'll see it's called Student Demo Essay Submission. However, when it's on the main page, Student Demo Essay Submission, it's the same thing. So the link from that activities block on the right hand side and the link from the main content area on the Moodle page both go to the same place. You're not getting into different Turnitin submissions. So if we open up the Turnitin submission, we've got 2 tabs at the top here. One says Summary, and there's some quite important information on here. The first one is the name of the submission, so you want to make sure you've got the right submission that you're submitting to. There'll then be a summary of information from your unit leader or from your tutor. You'll see in this situation it says please submit your 2,000 word essay via link below. For information on your assessment brief, please see page 3 of the unit handbook. If you have any problem submitting, please contact your unit leader at mmu.ac.uk. There will be varying amounts of information there. Some lecturers like to put up the full brief, some lecturers just put in some guidance. If you're ever unclear on any information that's there, please do speak to your unit leader or your unit tutor. Below that, we see that we have a series of bits of information about our submission. So you see there's assignment part. In this case, I'm only submitting one part. However, there may be situations, if for example you're submitting a dissertation, where you're submitting appendices, where you submit varying parts. So there may be 1, 2 or 3 different parts to submit to here. And in that case, you want to make sure you're submitting to the correct part when you go into there. That will become clear if you're in that situation. If not, don't worry about it. No need to be concerned about that at this point in time. We then have the start date, due date and post date. So the start date is when this has become available to you. So you see that this is the 1st of September at 9 o'clock. From that point, I can start to submit. Now if it's before that point, you won't be able to submit to this. You may be able to see the date, but you won't be able to submit to this Turnitin submission at this time. We then have the due date, which is your deadline, and you'll see that this is due on the 25th of September 2013. It's set to 23:59. That means that you can submit up until 1 minute before midnight. We don't recommend leaving it that long because there's always issues with uploads and things. Your internet connection might break, so if you cut it very fine to the line, then you may run into issues. However, this does give you the option to submit late. However, do check this date and time because some lecturers will allow you to submit up until later. In other situations, it may be that they don't want you to submit in the evening because it may cause technical problems, etc. So they'll set that time to a different time. So just double check what that time is. There's then the post date. Now the post date is the date that any feedback or grades which are entered into Turnitin will be fed back to you. Most lecturers will set this to be in line with the feedback date for a piece of summative assessment, or they may just set this to a date which will allow them to put any feedback into the documents if it's a piece of formative assessment. That's not anything to worry about. This date is generated by the lecturer and it's not linked up to any system, so this is just a date that your lecturers put in as a piece of information for you. It may not be set properly. If it isn't, don't worry about it. There's then also the maximum marks, so this is marked out of 100 because we're going to give it a percentage when it gets marked. So that's all the information on the summary page. If we click on My Submissions at the top, it will take us into our submission page. It tells me that currently no submissions have been made for this student. I see there's a add submission box further down, and from here I can select submission type. Now, it may be set by default to a file upload or text upload for this. However, in this situation I can select which I want to submit by. If I was to select text submission, I would be able to paste a piece of text into this submission and click submit, and that would submit it to Turnitin. The most common way of submitting is using a file upload, so that will allow you to upload a Word document or a PDF document. For information, you can't upload things like PowerPoint slides and things. It's very much just text documents, essays and things which can be submitted to Turnitin in this way. So we set the file upload. I then have to give it a submission title, so I'll call it my essay. It tells me that I'm submitting to part 1. If there's multiple parts, you can select which part you're going to select here. And then where it says file to submit, I click on browse, I click on that box to browse, and I have a document on my desktop, which is my history of Manchester paper, and I upload that. Now that tells me that it's on my computer. It's not been uploaded yet. What I have to do now is check this box, and it says by checking this box I confirm that this submission is my own work, and I accept all responsibility for any copyright infringement that may incur as a result of this submission. That's just you confirming that you're kind of keeping within the university's regulations for copyright and referencing and all sorts of things. So if we tick this box, confirming that it's your own work, and then click add submission, that will then upload the paper into Moodle, and then it will send it off to Turnitin. Okay, so that will just take a couple of seconds. Sometimes Turnitin can take a little while because what Turnitin is, it's a separate system to the university's virtual learning environment, which is Moodle. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of collaborate and work together with that system. And we see now that it synchronizes the data with Turnitin, and we can see that we successfully submitted the status successfully to Turnitin. It's called my essay. Tells me when it was submitted as a similarity index which states pending, and it says there's no grade. So this hasn't been marked, there's no comments, obviously because we've just uploaded it, and the similarity is still being worked on just now. Now if I click refresh, after a few minutes, this pending, because I've submitted this first time, I haven't submitted before, this will change to a percentage which tells me how much of my paper has been matched to other documents on the internet or which have been submitted. We're going to look at that in a separate video. However, one thing to be aware of is that when you first upload, depending on how big the paper is and how many submissions are taking place at that time, etc., Turnitin will feed back your similarity within a couple of minutes. However, if you are to submit again, provided that your lecturer has enabled you to make multiple submissions, when you next submit, there will be a 24-hour buffer between the time that we submitted the first time and when you can receive another originality report. So, for example, I've submitted at 25 to 5 on the 18th of September, and this is going to pop up in just a second. If I was to submit again in an hour, I would have to wait until 16:35 on the 19th of September to get another similarity report out of there, because it waits 24 hours from when my first submission was made. So that's something to be aware of. There's just this buffer period in between. It's not that Turnitin is broken, it states pending and it will just wait until there. It's just so that there can't be a lot of resubmissions at the same time. Okay, so that's now been submitted. There is another video which links to this, which will look at the originality report and will give a bit of information about that. But I hope that that's been helpful for you to submit your paper.